take-home list, right?
Yes, take-home list, and I think those vehicles that are assigned to certain people were highlighted in yellow.
Yes.
So, is there any question?
I don't have a question. It was attachment, and we got 5 attachments in an email, and one of them today. We got it today.
Today?
Yeah, today. Yeah.
Well, we haven't had time to look it over.
Yeah. So I don't have a question. My only, I would like the council to consider an ordinance that city vehicles stay here in this city. It's just like any other job, unless you are police and fire, that you drive your car to the job. And if you need a city vehicle while you're here in city boundaries, then you are to use the city vehicle, but not take our city vehicle out of Calumet city boundaries.
So anyone that has a city vehicle has to pay taxes on that vehicle, correct, Mr. President?
Yes.
So if they have a city vehicle that, for example,
It's a taxable event in the fact that it's added to their salary.
so example, if our fire chief or police chief, since we're excluding those, they have to pay taxes on those.
Yeah, I understand that. If they're not police and fire, they don't need to take city vehicles outside of Calumet City. That's just my thought.
Isn't that a liability to the city if they have an accident?
It's a liability, even if they're in the city or outside. Not in agreement, wholly with Alderman Wilson. I mean, we have relaxed our residency requirements for, our employees many years ago. Yet and still, our department heads have moved outside of Calumet City in order to want to impose a limit, mile limit, where they have to reside. Then I'm inclined to accept that. But I do believe our department heads need, wherever they live at, we can't, we shouldn't require them to live in Calumet City because that of course is left stable. But they need to be able to respond to Calumet City in an ample amount of time. And I think that it's just, that's my opinion. Not every person in charge in each department needs to have a take-home vehicle, but I do believe that the department head himself or herself should have access to a city vehicle and be able to utilize the city asset as such.
I respectfully disagree. You're coming, you're paid well to do a job. And if you didn't have the city vehicle, how would you be getting here in the first place? I don't know too many of the department heads that can't get here if a need arises. I have seen these city vehicles in places that they probably shouldn't be. And I'm gonna leave it at that. I do not think taxpayer money should go outside of Calumet City.
No, thank you for that. So I'm going to ask Attorney Olson, since he represents many municipalities, what is your experience with, or your knowledge of, who is allowed to take home city vehicles within municipalities outside of
Unfortunately, it's not a standard policy. It's municipality by municipality. As a general rule, not many vehicles are allowed out of the city because of liability purposes. And you're right, there's a liability whether they're in the city or they're out of the city. So I think a lot of communities cut down on the liability by not allowing the department head or anyone, except chiefs generally, to take the vehicle out of the city. Again, it's strictly policy.
but it is something that exists in the other
In
municipalities.
some, yes, in some.
Would you be, oblige us of getting us list of those municipalities that you have experience with that.
Yes.
Allow department heads to take their vehicles home, whether they live in town or not.
And some of them have policies, so I'll get you those.
Right, and that's something that we can put in place as well, is the behaviors that, for those who have access to their own vehicles.
Finance Chairman, Director Morris. I did look at the list. I noticed that some of the vehicles, the license plate information are not, they're no longer municipal plates. Why is that?
Well, some of the vehicles that
Today,
police
about
department
11 maybe.
are assigned to detectives.
He said water
Not
sewer
those.
rates and a
That's not,
bunch
this is
of
public
stuff.
works,
So it's totally excluding police or public safety vehicles.
all of them, plan out which one, and we'll have some real.
So there's a Chevy, I want to say, I believe it was listed under the one Cleo Jones Drive. Why does that have an input on the vehicle?
I think that's how we ordered it.
Okay, but shouldn't they have municipal plates? Those are municipal vehicles?
I have to check with Maria. I know she ordered the book. I have to check with purchasing, not saying names, about that question.
Well, and so that leads me to this. The vehicle policy is critical because we have no way of tracking. Now, I'm not gonna come here and point fingers, but I've heard and I've seen different people that have take-home vehicles, not handling city business in city vehicles. How do we, as a council, protect them?
Well, I would say first thing is report it. Because if you come into the council now and saying that you've seen this and you haven't reported it,
Because,
wait, hold on, Alderman.
go ahead.
In order to correct the behavior, you first have to understand and tell what the behavior is, and who has that vehicle, and if they need to be disciplined, they will be disciplined. And I would ask the council to avoid saying names tonight about city vehicles. But if you notice that, say something and tell us that that person who's driving this vehicle was seen outside the city limits doing that.
Maxwell Street.
Yeah, like if they're in Maxwell Street getting polar sauces, then we need to know that they're downtown getting polar sauces when they're supposed to be at work. We need to know that.
But that's what I'm saying, and I mentioned that to say, that's how would we know? Because at that point, I didn't know it was a city vehicle. And then when I saw that actual.
I got you.
You follow what I'm saying? So
it doesn't have an end plate, so you can't track.
we never will know, you know.
I will check with, when we order those plates, because some of those plates, and I will have to check with a person about those plates and what the Secretary of State do. So City Council wants end plates on all vehicles, city vehicles.
Yes. And so just for clarification, everybody's here, there's no more speculation. Is our former economic development director still driving a city vehicle? Is she still in possession of one?
No.
So I can't see it. If you just send it today or tonight, I could.
We can go into executive session, I'll print it out, and then
I don't want on the list of police cars. I want
the list includes all of them, It's
how
by
many-
department.
okay.
It's by department. The list is all inclusive by department.
I want to ask you, I've seen a lot of these cars outside of Calumet City. I've seen late night, literally dropping off an elder, a senior. And as my kids say, he busting blocks, literally blasting music at 8 o'clock in the city truck. And just, you know who I was, it wasn't the first time, but there's a lot of vehicles out. And I do agree that city vehicles should be parked. There's a lot back there. You pick your car up, you put your car there. When you are going home, you need to put the city vehicle back. That's my take. We are paying for gas. We are paying for insurance. We are paying car notes. We have a lot of vehicles out, and we may not necessarily need all of those vehicles. And I don't know if we still literally have any still on the books that we're paying for, but we could possibly get rid of them and stop some of those payments if there are more. So I'm asking for us to consider the ordinance and maybe adding a couple of vehicles, but there goes a lot of vehicles out.
And all of our vehicles have been paid for through ARPA grants and also through other funds, so we don't have car payments on those. But in that list that you have, that was again sent to Attorney Olson, it has all the highlighted people that have those vehicles, and we'll look at it and get the council an answer from the Secretary of State about switching all those to in-place.
I do have a question. Why does an employee in the clerk's department have a vehicle when the clerk drives her own car?
Alderman, he's assigned, the clerk, as you know, is not assigned a vehicle. It's not in her salary to assign the clerk a vehicle. The clerk is not requested that she has a vehicle, and the employee in the clerk's office does multiple things with the water department and has that vehicle.
But a take-home vehicle, that just seems too much. Do what you need to do and then leave the car here.
Well, you can't change your salary in the middle of your term. So if you want a vehicle, clerk, if you want a vehicle, you gotta request that in a normal process. Just like the mayor used to have a vehicle, and then that expense was tied and rolled into the mayor's salary. So I would say if that's what the council wants to do, when they put the normal budget process, you can't do it until another 3 years. If that's the case, all.
No, not to do an ordinance.
Well,
Oh, let me see, okay.
sorry. Any other questions, Alderman?
No, I'm fine.
As far as just discussion on these, I do plan on calling an ordinance meeting next week. So I'll make sure this is on the agenda and we can kind of have more discussion on this topic.
Okay.